If you gave yourself just 6 months, no excuses, no distractions, no endless resets, your whole life could look completely different. That's not a motivational quote. That's a warning, a challenge, a call to action. Because if that line made you pause, if it struck something in you that felt real, it's because some part of you knows you've been wasting time. Scrolling through life while your goals gather dust. Watching others grow while you stay in place. Tired of starting over. Tired of the guilt. Tired of waking up with regret and ending the day in disappointment. This is your interruption. This is the moment where everything could change, but only if you stop pretending and start facing what's actually keeping you stuck. Let's not sugarcoat this. If you're going to transform your life in 6 months, you must first walk through the fire of brutal honesty. You must dismantle the lies you've been telling yourself. Not with drama. Not with excuses. But with clarity. What's really ruining your life? What patterns, habits, people, thoughts, or behaviors are quietly draining your potential every single day? That's the work. That's the foundation. Because you can't change your life if you keep pretending it's fine. You can't build a better reality if you're still clinging to the same comfort-based routines that got you here. You can't create discipline while defending your excuses. You can't move forward if you keep lying to yourself about why you're standing still. Real transformation doesn't begin with hype. It begins with a mirror. A quiet moment. A deep breath and the question. What am I doing that is killing my growth? For some, the answer is procrastination. The endless, I'll start tomorrow, loop that becomes a lifestyle. You tell yourself that next week will be different, but it's not. You say you're waiting for the right time, but you know it never comes. Time passes. Nothing changes. Not because you lack the ability, but because you refuse to take responsibility. That's not a flaw. That's a choice. One you can change, but only if you own it. For others, it's addiction. And no, not just to substances. Addiction to comfort. To food. To scrolling. To anything that gives you an easy escape from effort. You built this habit during hard times, maybe when life felt too heavy. But now it's not soothing you anymore. Now it's sinking you. Every time you run to that escape instead of stepping into discomfort, you trade your potential for temporary numbness. And that's a trade that leaves you empty. And for many, it's mindset. A belief system wired around fear. You expect the worst. You downplay your capabilities. You sabotage opportunities because somewhere inside, you've convinced yourself you're not enough. So you shrink. You stay quiet. You stay small. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're not. You're just avoiding growth. And let's talk about your circle. Some people in your life don't want to grow. They mock your ambition. They roll their eyes when you speak your goals out loud. They pull you back every time you start moving forward. But here's the hard truth, they're not the problem. You are. You're the one who keeps letting them stay. You're the one who doesn't draw the line. You're the one who chooses comfort over boundaries. You're the one who'd rather stay stuck than be alone. And it's time you admit that. Admitting it doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful. It gives you control. Because now you can begin the process of change. But here's the deal, you can't skip this part. You can't jump to the motivation, the plan, the checklist, if the foundation is still toxic. This is the detox. You have to sit in it. You have to feel the discomfort. You have to own it. Not once. Not when it's convenient. Every single day. Ask yourself, what am I doing right now that's helping me? What am I doing that's hurting me? And be willing to face the answer. Most people don't change because they avoid this level of honesty. They distract themselves. They talk about change. But their actions? They stay the same. They rearrange their to-do list, buy a new planner, watch another video. But nothing sticks. Nothing lasts. Because they're still lying to themselves. Still defending the habits that are quietly killing their drive. Still hoping they can grow while staying comfortable. You can't. So take inventory. Write it down. Make it visible. What are you tolerating in your life that needs to end? What thoughts are stealing your confidence? What people are draining your energy? What behaviors are leaving you ashamed instead of proud? Get it out of your head and into the open. Face it. Because until you do, nothing changes. If social media eats your hours, cut it off. If your food habits leave you tired and unmotivated, clean it up. If your nights are full of distractions that erase your mornings, replace them. If your environment is built around people who don't support your vision, get space. Stop talking about potential and start removing what doesn't belong. You don't need 100 changes. You need clarity, precision, intention. You need to start subtracting the things that sabotage your growth. Every excuse you eliminate creates space for discipline. Every toxic influence you remove creates room for peace. Every weak behavior you cut makes way for a new standard. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about waking up every day with a decision to do better, not because you're inspired, but because you're tired of being stuck. You already know what's not working. You already feel the weight of your inaction. You don't need another video. You need to move. You need to shift. You need to say, I'm not living this way anymore. I know what's hurting me, and I'm done tolerating it. That's where the breakthrough begins. Not with a spark of motivation, but with a decision. A deep, grounded, clear decision that you will no longer betray yourself. And that decision? That's what separates the people who stay stuck from the people who transform. You want to change your life in 6 months? You want to become unrecognizable to the person you are today? Then start with the truth. Start by cleaning out what's been poisoning your progress. Start by stopping the cycle you've been living on repeat. You don't need motivation. You need honesty. You don't need hype. You need clarity. You don't need more time. You need to act. Now. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep living the life you've always had. And you already know you're capable of more. It's time to prove it. To yourself. Not through words, but through action. Let this be the moment you stop hiding. Let this be the season you stop pretending. Let this be the chapter where everything begins to change, because you finally got honest about what's been holding you back. If you truly want to change your life in 6 months, then this is where the real battle begins. Not with your goals, not with your schedule, but with the habits you've built that silently convince you you're not good enough. You can't keep doing things that make you feel weak and then expect to feel strong. You can't keep repeating behaviors that drain your self-respect and then wonder why your confidence is missing. Every day, you make choices. And some of those choices leave invisible scars. They don't just waste your time, they chip away at the way you see yourself. And over time, they build something dangerous, self-contempt. You already know which habits are doing this to you. You don't need anyone to tell you. You feel it. You live with it. You wake up tired, not just because of bad sleep, but because of regret. You walk through your day distracted, not because of lack of focus, but because you're carrying the guilt of yesterday's choices. You don't need another plan. You need to stop betraying yourself. You need to stop doing the things that make you feel ashamed and call it coping. Maybe it started small. A few skipped workouts. A few late nights that turned into weeks. A few meals that turned into binges. A few scrolls that turned into hours. These weren't massive failures. They were micro decisions. Tiny, easy to justify moments. But you didn't notice how they began to change you. How they chipped away at your belief in yourself. How they made your standards negotiable. Until one day you woke up and didn't recognize the person in the mirror. Not because you look different, but because you feel hollow. That's what these habits do. They train you to abandon yourself. They convince you that it's okay to delay. Okay to excuse. Okay to pretend that this version of you is all you're capable of. But deep down, you know that's a lie. And that's why it hurts. Because you're not just wasting time, you're betraying the part of you that knows better. The part that wants more. That believes in more. So here's the truth. If a habit makes you feel guilty, weak, ashamed, or small, it's not harmless. It's not just a bad day. It's poison. And the longer you allow it to stay, the deeper it roots into your identity. You're not just reinforcing a routine, you're rewiring your brain to expect failure, to expect inconsistency. And eventually, you'll stop aiming for more altogether. But there's a way out. Not through massive overnight change, but through a slow, deliberate reclaiming of your self-respect. Through one decision. Then another. Then another. You don't need to become perfect. You need to stop doing what makes you hate yourself. And that begins with a simple rule. No more actions that leave me ashamed. That's it. That's the line you draw. Not for the world. For you. Because no external motivation will save you if internally, you've stopped trusting yourself. If your identity has been shaped by shortcuts, laziness, and regret, you have to start reshaping it. With intention, with discipline, with action. Start with the smallest habit you know is breaking you down. Maybe it's grabbing your phone first thing in the morning. Maybe it's skipping workouts. Maybe it's junk food, or impulsive spending, or mindless entertainment that eats your time. Whatever it is, identify it. Name it. Then break it. Not someday. Not next week. Today. Cut it out. Replace it. Face the discomfort it brings. And do it again tomorrow. You're not weak, you're programmed. But programming can be rewritten. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, you'll feel resistance. Yes, there will be a voice in your head begging you to return to your comfort zone. That's not you. It's the version of you that doesn't want to grow. You've given it control for too long. It's time to take it back. And here's what happens when you start. Everything shifts. Maybe not dramatically at first. But your mind will begin to clear. Your body will respond. You'll feel more grounded. More focused. You'll begin to respect yourself again. And that quiet pride, that subtle strength. That's what discipline builds. That's what real transformation feels like. This isn't about results you can post on social media. This isn't about becoming the loudest person in the room. This is about becoming the kind of person you can trust. The kind of person who doesn't need to be watched to stay consistent. Who doesn't need external approval to stay committed. This is about integrity, the kind you feel when no one's watching. And you'll fail. Sometimes. You'll slip. You'll have days where the old version of you creeps back in. That's not weakness, that's a test. And the answer is always the same, keep going. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for the new month. Get back on track immediately. The second you notice you've veered off course, correct it. That's how you win. That's how you build momentum. And with every day that you stick to your standard, something powerful happens. Your identity changes. You go from someone who always quits to someone who always finishes. From someone who hides behind distractions to someone who confronts reality. From someone who talks about change to someone who lives it. It starts in your habits. In your choices. In the way you handle discomfort. In the way you wake up and decide. Today, I don't betray myself. Forget perfection. Build proof. You don't need to convince yourself anymore. You need to see it in your actions. When you live in alignment with the person you want to be, your life begins to rise to meet that standard. You don't just feel better, you become better. And when you become better, you stop accepting less. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop wasting time on things that don't serve your growth. 6 months. That's all it takes to completely rebuild your internal code. Not by accident. Not by luck. But by daily action. Daily refusal to do what breaks you. Daily commitment to do what builds you. So the question isn't, can you change? The question is, will you stop doing what makes you hate yourself? Will you give up the things that make your life look easy on the surface but feel heavy underneath? Will you finally say no to what keeps you weak, and yes to the discomfort that makes you strong? If you can do that, even for a week, everything will begin to shift. And if you can keep going, if you can break the habits that have broken you, then 6 months from now, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. That's not hype. That's discipline. That's power. That's the life you're capable of living, if you're willing to let go of the version of yourself that's been holding you back. If you truly want to become unrecognizable in 6 months, then you need to build a system that makes your growth inevitable. Not optional. Not based on motivation. Not dependent on how you feel. A system. A routine. A daily structure that doesn't just keep you busy, but pushes you beyond your comfort zone, again and again, until you become too disciplined to break. You can't grow by accident. You can't evolve through hope. Growth happens when your days are intentionally constructed to leave no room for weakness, delay, or excuse. You don't rise because the stars align. You rise because your routine refuses to let you fall. And this isn't about cramming your schedule with 15 new habits or writing a perfect to-do list. That's performance. That's noise. That's what people do when they want to look productive, not be powerful. The kind of routine we're talking about is built on simplicity, repetition, and pressure. Pressure that you apply to yourself, not because you enjoy it, but because it molds you into someone who no longer negotiates with laziness. Start with this question. What are the few things I can do every day that will force me to grow, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually? Not what looks good online. Not what someone else is doing. What pushes you? What stretches your mind? What clears your distractions? What builds your discipline? The answers don't need to be complicated. They just need to be real. Maybe it's waking up at the same time every day, no matter what. Maybe it's moving your body daily. Whether it's lifting, walking, stretching, or sweating until your excuses die. Maybe it's writing down your goals before the world wakes up. Maybe it's sitting in silence and learning how to be alone with your thoughts instead of constantly running from them. Maybe it's making your bed. Maybe it's cutting out phone usage in the first and last hour of your day. Maybe it's cleaning your space until your environment reflects the standard of your mind. Whatever it is, lock it in. Repeat it. Ruthlessly. Without asking yourself if you're in the mood. Without waiting for someone to check in. Without making it pretty. Just do it. You don't build confidence by talking about what you'll do. You build it by doing hard things without applause. By proving to yourself that you don't need to be watched to be disciplined. That you don't need an external reward to show up with internal consistency. And your routine is the testing ground. Every day is a test. And every day you follow through, your belief compounds. This is what most people miss. They think routine is about checking boxes. But a routine that doesn't challenge you is just maintenance. You don't need maintenance, you need transformation. And transformation requires demand. Your routine must demand more of you than your comfort is willing to give. It must make excuses feel ridiculous. It must create tension, because that tension is where growth is born. You build a routine that forces you to grow by making the first hour of your day sacred. Before the noise. Before the chaos. Before the distractions. That hour is yours. Guard it. Fill it with movement, reflection, and intention. Don't scroll. Don't react. Don't consume junk. Lead your morning, because if you can't lead your first hour, you won't lead the rest of your life. Next, structure your work. What are you actually working on? Are you focused or faking productivity? Are you facing the hard tasks or avoiding them? Are you deep in your mission or lost in busy work? Your routine should answer these questions before they even come up. If you need to think about what you're doing, you've already lost time. Plan it. Prepare for it. Execute it like your future depends on it, because it does. And don't forget to build space for reflection. Growth without awareness turns into burnout. Take 10 minutes a day to review. Did I show up? Did I run or face? Did I grow or stay the same? You don't need to judge yourself, you need to track yourself. Because you can't improve what you don't observe. You can't evolve if you keep lying to yourself about how you're doing. Evening matters too. Your routine doesn't end when work ends. It ends when you decide it ends. So ask, are my evenings recovering me or wrecking me? Are they setting me up for tomorrow, or undoing today's progress? What you do between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. often determines whether your 6 a.m. self is focused or foggy. If your night is filled with chaos, stimulation, and distractions, don't expect clarity in the morning. You're not just building days, you're building momentum. Your routine must respect that momentum. Wind down with discipline. Prepare your environment. Close the day with intention, not noise. This is the formula. Morning equals direction, daytime equals execution, evening equals reflection and reset. Simple. Not easy. But simplicity is strength. Most people don't stick to routines because they design them based on emotion. I'll see how I feel. That's the death sentence of growth. You'll never feel like pushing. You'll never feel like stepping into discomfort. But if you're disciplined, you don't wait for feelings. You follow structure. You follow purpose. You move even when every part of you says stop. And yes, this gets hard. Boring. Repetitive. But that's the point. That's where the magic happens. Not in the first week when everything feels new. But in week 5 when no one's watching and you're tired and it would be easy to let it slide. That's the day you double down. That's the day you win. That's the day you build the kind of grit that outlasts motivation. So stop trying to make your routine perfect. Make it powerful. Make it honest. Make it so clear that even on your worst days you don't drift, you default to discipline. You move automatically because you've designed your life around execution, not emotion. And as you stick to it, everything starts to change. You'll feel less chaos, less anxiety, less guilt. Because your life is no longer random, it's intentional. You're not hoping to improve, you're forcing it. Every repetition strengthens your foundation. Every commitment compounds into results. Every day you show up, you prove to yourself that you are becoming someone who follows through. That's how you grow in 6 months. Not by dreaming. Not by waiting. But by crafting a routine that doesn't ask you for your best, but demands it daily. If you want to create a life that demands respect, self-respect first, then everything else, you have to understand one thing: comfort is not your friend. It's a liar. A thief. It whispers in your ear every time you're about to make a breakthrough. It wraps itself in convenience and pleasure, but its goal is always the same: stagnation. Growth and comfort cannot live in the same room. One has to leave. And for most people, they keep choosing comfort, not once, but daily. In the small decisions. The hidden moments. The times they think don't matter. And that's exactly how they lose. Slowly. Quietly. Until one day, they wake up and realize they haven't moved. Not forward. Not toward their goals. Not into the life they say they want. If you're serious about change, real change, you must draw a hard line. I choose progress over comfort. Every time. Especially when it hurts. Especially when I don't want to. Especially when it's easier not to. Every day, you're faced with hundreds of micro decisions. Wake up or snooze? Focus or scroll? Move or sit? Read or binge? Confront or avoid? Do or delay? Each moment is an opportunity. And most people blow it, not because they're weak, but because they haven't trained themselves to choose discomfort when it matters. Comfort is addictive. And it doesn't show up looking dangerous. It shows up wrapped in dopamine. In soft blankets. In entertainment. In the sentence, just this once. But just this once becomes just one more, and just one more becomes your lifestyle. You say you want more. That you want to grow. That you want to evolve. But how many times a day do your actions choose the opposite? How often do you side with relief instead of results? You're not lazy. You're conditioned. But that conditioning can be broken. And it starts with rejecting comfort, not in theory, but in your behavior. Choosing progress isn't a feeling. It's a habit. A response. An identity. It's something you practice daily, until it becomes who you are. Let's be clear, progress is hard. It's not sexy. It doesn't come with quick results. Sometimes it feels invisible. You show up, do the work, and there's nothing to celebrate. No applause. No feedback. Just silence. That's where most people quit. That's where you double down. You do the thing you said you'd do, not because it's fun, but because you promise yourself. And that promise matters more than your feelings. You want to grow? Then start practicing this mantra. I do hard things. Especially when I don't feel like it. It's not about punishment. It's about purpose. You're not avoiding pleasure forever. You're training yourself to earn it. And when you've earned it, it feels different. It doesn't come with guilt. It comes with power. Here's how you practice. When you wake up and want to roll over, stand up instead. That's training. When your phone pulls your hand toward it, pull away. That's training. When junk food calls your name, choose fuel instead. That's training. When your mind says, just skip today, you reply, I don't negotiate with weakness. That's training. These aren't just habits, they're bricks. And every time you choose progress, you lay one more layer in the foundation of the person you're becoming. Understand this, comfort is cheap. It costs you nothing in the moment, and everything in the long run. It's easy to access, and even easier to justify. But its long-term cost is massive. It erodes your discipline. It numbs your ambition. It weakens your self-respect. And the worst part? It disguises itself as normal. You've got to wake up. You've got to decide that comfort has cost you enough. Every minute you've spent in avoidance, in delay, in escape, it all adds up. That's the real pain. Not the pain of discipline, but the pain of wasted time. And here's the truth no one wants to hear. Nobody is coming to rescue you from that. Nobody is going to pull you off the couch. Nobody is going to delete the app for you. Nobody is going to slap the donut out of your hand. That's your job. Your responsibility. Your power. The world respects those who choose discomfort over mediocrity. Because those are the people who get things done. Who show up. Who lead. Who build. Who finish. And you don't become one of those people by accident. You become one by choosing progress every single day. You won't always see the benefit immediately. But the compound effect is real. One day you'll look back and realize that those early mornings, those skipped distractions, those disciplined decisions added up to something massive, momentum. And momentum is where everything changes. Because once you have it, you don't need to force yourself as much. You become pulled by your potential instead of pushed by guilt. You start choosing effort automatically, because that's just who you are now. This shift, this identity shift, is the goal. You go from saying, I want to be disciplined, to, I am disciplined. From, I want to change, to, I'm already changing. From, I'm trying, to, I'm becoming. And it all starts with a simple rule, progress over comfort. Every time. So the next time you're faced with a decision, whether to act or to avoid, remember this, the easy road leads nowhere. You already know what it feels like to take it. It's not peace. It's not rest. It's quiet regret. But the hard road? The uncomfortable one? That's where your life gets rebuilt. That's where your strength returns. That's where the fire reignites. 6 months from now, your results will speak for you. Your energy will be different. Your eyes will reflect conviction. Your posture will show clarity. And when people ask what changed, if you're serious about transforming your life in 6 months, then you need to address one of the deepest traps holding you back, your addiction to quick pleasure. The scroll, the snack, the show, the shortcut. The tiny hits of dopamine that feel good in the moment, but leave you weaker, scattered, and further from your vision. This isn't just a bad habit, it's a psychological trap. And it's killing your momentum one moment at a time. We live in a world designed to distract you. Your devices, your apps, the content you're fed, they're engineered to hijack your brain, keep you chasing the next quick fix, the next easy hit of stimulation. And most people never break out. They live in reactive mode. They reach for their phone without thinking. They scroll while they eat, while they rest, even while they talk. They're constantly consuming, rarely creating, and they don't realize the cost until years slip away unnoticed. But you're done with that. You're here because you want to become someone who doesn't need external noise to feel alive. Someone who can sit with boredom, discomfort, and effort without needing to run. That level of mental strength? It's not something you're born with. It's trained. Earned. Built, moment by moment, decision by decision. The first step is simple. Recognize the pattern. Every time you feel an urge to check your phone, grab a snack, open another tab, or reach for something that gives you quick pleasure, pause. Just pause. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? Because in almost every case, that impulse is a mask. A distraction from something harder. A task. A thought. An emotion. A truth you don't want to face. Quick pleasure is almost always a form of escape. It's rarely about joy. It's about relief. Temporary. Empty. Fleeting. And every time you feed it, you weaken your ability to tolerate discomfort. You're training your mind to need stimulation instead of developing endurance. But endurance is where self-mastery lies. And mastery is what builds an unshakable life. You want focus? You want clarity? You want power? Then stop feeding the part of your brain that lives for instant rewards. Retrain it. Rewire it. Remind yourself that short-term pleasure is the enemy of long-term fulfillment. You've got to reprogram your system. Start with micro-decisions. When you feel the urge to scroll, don't. When you feel the tug of comfort, pause. When you're tempted to waste time, refuse. These moments matter. Not because they're big, but because they're repeated. And repetition is what shapes identity. You're not just quitting a habit, you're building a new baseline. A new standard. A new relationship with your time, your mind, and your impulses. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. That's not failure. That's detox. That's your brain fighting the very change it needs most. Push through it. You don't need to cut everything out overnight. Start small. Maybe it's the first 60 minutes of your day. No phone. No social. Just presence. Movement. Focus. Maybe it's the last hour of your evening. No junk input. Just reflection. Reading. Peace. These aren't rules, they're rituals. Anchors. Proof that you're serious about building something stronger than distraction. Because here's the truth, if you can't control your attention, you can't control your life. And every time you chase quick pleasure, you're handing your control to something else. You're choosing short-term ease over long-term excellence. And 6 months from now, your results will reflect that choice. So ask yourself, what do you truly want? Do you want to feel entertained or fulfilled? Do you want to stay numb? Or get stronger? Do you want comfort or greatness? Because you can have both. Every moment you resist the easy path, you're building something powerful, discipline without drama. The ability to say no without negotiation. The capacity to choose what matters, even when it doesn't feel good right now. That's what separates the people who talk about change from the ones who live it. It's not about motivation. It's not about passion. It's about the small, silent battles you win every day. The moments no one sees. The decision to walk away from the screen. The choice to sit in silence. The refusal to indulge a craving that gives you nothing back. These choices aren't glamorous, but they're game-changing. Because every time you delay gratification, you reclaim a piece of yourself. A piece of your power. A piece of your future. And the more you do it, the more it becomes who you are. Someone who doesn't chase dopamine, but generates momentum. Someone who isn't ruled by impulse, but led by purpose. Someone who doesn't need stimulation to feel worthy, because your self-worth is rooted in action, not escape. This is mental training. This is the sharpening of your mind. The leveling up of your spirit. The quiet, relentless act of becoming a person who can do hard things, for a long time, without applause. Start now. Pick one thing. One place where you keep chasing the quick hit. Remove it. Replace it. Redirect it. Track your wins. Celebrate the days you resisted the urge. Not with another distraction, but with self-respect. Because that's the real reward. Not the fleeting buzz. Not the temporary relief. But the long-lasting pride that comes from doing what most people can't, saying no to comfort and yes to growth. You've chased enough temporary highs. You've lived enough cycles of regret. Now it's time to build a different life, one decision at a time. Train your mind. Starve your distractions. Feed your focus. That's how you change in 6 months. That's how you win. You already know what needs to change. That's not the problem. The real problem is that you keep walking around the hard things. You keep pushing them to the side, burying them beneath distractions, covering them up with excuses. And the cost? It's heavy. Heavier than any of the discomfort you're avoiding. The truth is simple, but brutal. Your breakthrough lives on the other side of the hard things you keep avoiding. That uncomfortable conversation. That overdue responsibility. That delayed decision. That thing you know you should do, but haven't. That's where your future is hiding. And you won't unlock it with another plan. Not with a vision board. Not with a playlist or podcast. You'll unlock it when you stop running and start facing the very things that make your hands shake and your heart race. That's the gateway. And until you step through it, nothing real changes. Avoidance is the silent killer of potential. It doesn't scream. It doesn't make a scene. It creeps in quietly. It gives you relief in the moment and regret over time. You avoid the task, and for a minute you feel better. But inside you weaken. You start to fear the thing even more. You start to tell yourself stories. It's not that bad. I'll get to it later. I'm too tired. I need more time. And those stories become your cage. Every time you avoid something hard, you reinforce the idea that you're not strong enough to handle it. And the longer you wait, the heavier it gets. The task doesn't shrink, it grows in your mind. You carry it with you day after day. And it drains you slowly, like a weight on your chest that never lifts. But here's the secret. The moment you actually face the thing you've been avoiding, the fear collapses. The pressure lifts. The task becomes manageable. Not because it was easy, but because you stopped running. And action always dissolves anxiety. You want to change your life in 6 months? Start doing the exact things you've been putting off for the last 6 years. Make the call. Clean the room. Pay the debt. Cancel the subscription. Have the conversation. Set the boundary. Finish the project. Go to the gym. Wake up when you said you would. Face the thing. Because the longer you wait, the deeper the regret, and the further your goals drift. This is where transformation starts, not in the exciting new goals, but in the uncomfortable old responsibilities. In the unfinished, avoided, ignored parts of your life. You don't need a better system. You need courage. You need movement. You need a decision that says, I'm done hiding from my own life. And don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect time. That doesn't exist. You don't need to feel confident. You just need to move. Take the first step. Do the first 5 minutes. Write the first sentence. Lift the first rep. Send the first email. You don't need momentum to start. You start to build momentum. And the second you do, something shifts. You feel it. A flicker of strength. A return of control. Not because you finished, but because you finally began. The mind plays tricks when you delay. It makes the task seem bigger, the fear more intense, the story more convincing. But the body knows better. The body just needs a cue, a signal, movement. Once you act, the fog begins to clear. You want to build discipline? Stop negotiating with avoidance. Start attacking it. Make a list right now of everything you've been avoiding. Don't filter. Don't justify. Just write it down. Then pick the smallest one. The easiest to knock out. Do it today. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel inspired. Today. That one win will give you leverage over your mind. It proves you're no longer backing down. Do the same tomorrow. And the next day. Stack those wins. Build that identity. Not as someone who avoids, but as someone who finishes. Someone who leads themselves, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. And the crazy part? Most of the hard things you avoid are smaller than you think. They don't take as long. They don't feel as painful. It's the anticipation that's brutal. The avoidance that makes it unbearable. Once you do it, the fear dissolves. And in its place? Strength. Certainty. Relief. This is how you stop repeating the same year on loop. You stop saying someday, and start saying, right now. You stop letting tasks control your mood and start letting action control your outcome. And the more you do this, the more powerful you become, not just externally, but internally. You start trusting yourself again. You stop second-guessing. You stop feeling stuck. Because stuck isn't a place, it's a choice. A pattern. One that you can break with a single decision. And yes, you will fail. You will slip. You will avoid again. But now you'll catch it. You'll see it happening. And instead of spiraling, you'll act. Immediately. That's what separates the disciplined from the defeated. Not perfection, but the speed of their recovery. The speed at which they return to action. 6 months from now, your life can look completely different. But only if you stop avoiding what needs to be done. Only if you start choosing courage over comfort, action over anxiety, discipline over delay. You don't need to change everything today. Just do the next hard thing. And then the next. Build that momentum. Build that muscle. Build that identity. You already know what it is. That thing that's weighing on you. That's your assignment. Don't wait. Don't scroll. Don't think. Just go do it. The life you want is waiting. And it begins the moment you stop running from the hard things. And start doing them. There's a silent kind of pain that lives in people who've stopped trusting themselves. It doesn't scream. It doesn't make drama. But it's there, every time you say you'll do something and you don't. Every time you promise to start, and you quit. Every time you look in the mirror and see someone who talks a lot about change, but never follows through. It builds slowly. Quietly. And eventually it becomes your identity. You don't need someone to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. And that starts by rebuilding trust, not through hype, not through talk, but through proof. Because right now, maybe your brain doesn't believe you anymore. Maybe when you say, I'm going to change, that voice inside rolls its eyes. Maybe you've broken too many promises to yourself. Slept through too many alarms. Skipped too many workouts. Made too many excuses. It doesn't matter how small they were, each one was a message. A signal. A repetition that trained your brain to expect failure. And if you want to flip that switch, you can't rely on motivation. You need receipts. Evidence. Action. You build self-trust the same way you build any trust, consistency over time. You make a promise to yourself, and then you keep it. Even if it's small. Especially when it's small. Start with something non-negotiable. A promise you will keep. Not something impossible. Something simple, but sacred. Wake up at 6 a.m. Drink water first thing. Journal for 5 minutes. Read 10 pages. Move your body. Doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you do it, without negotiation, without delay, without exception. And once you do that, do it again tomorrow. And again the day after. Stack the wins. Prove, slowly, steadily, silently, that you are no longer someone who abandons themselves. Because that's what self-trust is really about. Not perfection, but reliability. The ability to say, if I say I'll do it, I will. That's power. That's how you build confidence. Not the fake kind that relies on compliments and hype, but the real kind that lives in your actions. You see, most people have this backward. They think confidence comes first, then action. But it's the opposite. You act first. You keep promises first. You build proof first. And that proof becomes belief. Quiet. Unshakable. Earned. You don't become confident by yelling affirmations into a mirror. You become confident by stacking days where your behavior aligns with your standards. By not hitting snooze when you said you wouldn't. By not quitting the workout when it gets uncomfortable. By doing what you said you'd do, even when nobody is watching. That's how belief is built. Not in your mind. In your movement. The more evidence you stack, the stronger you feel. Not just about what you're doing, but about who you are. You begin to rewrite the internal narrative. You stop saying, I'm lazy. You stop saying, I always quit. Because you've got the receipts to prove otherwise. And no, you won't be perfect. You'll slip. You'll fall short. But here's the key, don't use that as proof that you're broken. Use it as fuel. Bounce back fast. The faster you recover, the more resilient you become. The longer you stay off track, the deeper the distrust grows. The moment you slip, act. Not with guilt. Not with shame. With action. With redirection. Because that's where the new identity gets reinforced. That's when you show yourself. Even when I fall, I get up. So if you've been stuck, if you've lost belief, if your motivation feels dead, don't go looking for hype. Go looking for proof. Start small. Prove it. Repeat. That's the formula. This is how 6 months becomes a turning point. Not because you made some massive leap, but because you committed to consistency. Quietly. Relentlessly. Day by day. Imagine it, you wake up 30 days from now, and you've kept every promise. You've done the things you said you'd do. Maybe they weren't huge, but they were real. And they stack. You feel different. You walk different. You speak with certainty. Not because someone told you to, but because you earned it. That's how you escape the cycle. That's how you stop starting over. You replace the I'll try with I do. You shift from wanting to believing. From believing to knowing. From knowing to being. You are the type of person who shows up. The type of person who doesn't need hype to execute. The type of person who doesn't quit just because it gets hard. You can get there. But you have to start now. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Now. Pick one thing. One daily promise. Keep it. Don't talk about it. Don't announce it. Just do it. And when you do it again. Stack it. Build it. Let it grow into an identity that no longer needs convincing. This is your new baseline, self-trust built through follow-through. No more broken promises. No more self-betrayal. No more hoping you'll be different. From now on, you act different, and that's how you become different. 6 months. One promise at a time. You cannot become the strongest version of yourself while you're surrounded by people who keep pulling you back to your weakest. That's the truth. That's the part most people want to skip. They want to grow, evolve, lead, but they're still tethered to environments and relationships that quietly sabotage every step forward. And until you deal with that, no routine, no mindset shift, no habit stack will save you. You are not just the product of your actions. You are the product of your environment. And people are the strongest part of that environment. Every conversation you have, every interaction you tolerate, every person you give energy to is either fueling your progress or draining your drive. There is no neutral. They either elevate or erode. So, let's be blunt. Who's really around you? Who supports your vision, Not just in words, but in presence? Who makes you feel like less when you try to be more? Who claps when you regress and mocks when you progress? Who challenges you to be better versus comforting you into mediocrity? These aren't small questions. They determine the quality of your focus, your fire, your mental health. And more than that, they determine how fast and how far you'll go. Because here's what most people won't tell you: not everyone can come with you. Not everyone should. Some people are chapters, not the whole book. Some are lessons, not lifelong support. And some were only meant to be in your life before you woke up. But now that you have, you must choose loyalty to your old circle, or loyalty to your future self. And this is where it gets hard. Because it's not always toxic people. Sometimes it's people you love, people you grew up with, people who've always been there. But now, they don't grow. They don't want more. And every time you try to level up, they pull you back. Not with malice. Not always with negativity. But with subtle resistance. Jokes about your goals. Silence when you share wins. Discomfort when you talk about discipline. They don't need to say, "Don't grow." Their energy says it for them. And if you're not careful, you'll shrink to match that energy. You'll play down your goals. You'll suppress your ambition. You'll keep one foot in their world and one in your future, and live torn in the middle, making just enough progress to feel exhausted but never enough to feel proud. That ends now. If you want to change your life in 6 months, you need to audit your circle with ruthless honesty. Not with hate. Not with judgment. With clarity. You ask, who makes me doubt myself? Who drains me when I need focus? Who doesn't take my time or energy seriously? Who is always complaining, always gossiping, always negative? And then you do the thing most people are afraid to do: you set boundaries. Real ones. Boundaries that protect your momentum, your clarity, your emotional bandwidth. Boundaries that say, "I'm no longer available for conversations that pull me away from who I'm becoming." And no, you don't need to make a dramatic announcement. You don't need to argue, explain, or justify. You don't owe access to everyone who had it before. You just pull back. Quietly. Consistently. You spend less time. You stop sharing certain things. You don't show up where your energy gets killed. Instead, you redirect that time and energy into your growth. Into solitude. Into routines. Into building the kind of life that starts attracting people who match your new standard. Because here's the powerful part. Once you start moving with clarity, the right people begin to notice. The ones who speak your language. The ones who don't flinch when you say no. The ones who respect your schedule, your process, your silence. The ones who don't ask you to prove your worth or water down your ambition just to make them feel safe. But they don't show up until you make room. And the only way to make room is to remove what no longer belongs. This is what real growth requires. Not just adding new routines, but removing low-value relationships. Not just building discipline, but eliminating distractions in human form. You can't keep feeding old connections and expect new results. And yes, this may come with loneliness. For a while. Growth always does. You'll have days where you feel isolated. Where you wonder if you made the right decision. But don't mistake silence for wrongness. It's space. And space is where you meet the real you. The version of you that isn't constantly adapting to someone else's energy. The version that moves without approval. That thinks clearly. That acts with strength. And eventually, that version starts attracting new people. People who reflect your new standard. People who don't just support your goals, they push them. People who speak less and do more. Who sharpen you with truth. Who challenge your comfort. Who stretch your mindset. But again, they only come once you've made the space. So here's the challenge. Over the next few days, pay attention. Not just to what people say, but how you feel around them. Do you feel expanded or reduced? Clear or confused? Drained or driven? Be honest. Don't defend their behavior. Don't sugarcoat their effect. Just observe. Then act. You get one life. You don't have time to spend it explaining your vision to people who've already decided not to grow. You don't need anyone's permission to build discipline, to change your mind, to take your power back. From this moment forward, your circle is sacred. Your energy is protected. Your direction is non-negotiable. You're not here to carry people who won't walk. You're not here to entertain small talk when your future requires focus. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be legendary. Here's the truth most people avoid their whole lives. You are 100% responsible for where you are right now. Not just in the big decisions, but in the small, forgettable ones. The snoozed alarms. The skipped workouts. The mindless scrolling. The conversations you entertained. The food you ate. The focus you didn't protect. The hours you wasted. The commitments you avoided. Every choice you made stacked into a direction. And now, you're living the result. It's not an accident. It's not fate. It's not bad luck. It's the compound result of your own decisions. That truth stings. But it's also the key to everything. Because once you stop blaming circumstances, people, time, your past, or your schedule, once you strip all of that away, you're left with power. Power to take control. Power to shift direction. Power to make the next 6 months mean something completely different than the last 6. But only if you take full ownership. Not partial. Not convenient. Full. That means no more. I didn't have time. You did, you just didn't make it. No more. It wasn't my fault. If you didn't act, it was your choice. No more. That's just how I am. No. That's just how you've trained yourself to be. Everything you do, or don't do, is a vote for the person you're becoming. And until you take full accountability for those votes, you'll keep losing elections to your old self. This is where the real transformation begins. Not when you buy a journal or watch another motivational clip, but when you say, if it's going to change, it's going to be because I changed it. Ownership doesn't mean blame. It doesn't mean shame. It means agency. It means every result you get from now on, you claim it. You wear it. You own it. If your body isn't where you want it to be, own that. If your finances are out of control, own that. If your energy is chaotic, own that. If your habits are weak, own that. If your time is wasted, own that. Because the moment you do, you put yourself in the driver's seat again. You stop drifting. You stop waiting for someone to fix it. You stop outsourcing your progress. And you start building momentum from a place that's grounded in truth, not fantasy. Every time you delay responsibility, you delay change. Every time you excuse your actions, you prolong your suffering. Every time you avoid the mirror, you stay stuck. But when you step up, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the architect of your decisions. You stop reacting to life and start leading it. You stop asking for motivation and start acting from principle. This is the mindset of people who transform. They take extreme ownership over their reality, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. They don't waste time blaming. They look at the result and ask, what did I do to create this? And what will I now do to change it? And here's what you'll learn when you begin this process. Ownership is uncomfortable, but freeing. Because it releases you from the illusion that your future is in someone else's hands. It isn't. It never was. It's been yours the whole time. But you've got to be brave enough to claim it. So let's break this down. You control how you wake up. You control what you put in your body. You control what you allow on your screen. You control how you spend your hours. You control what you tolerate in your environment. You control whether you speak with purpose, or not at all. You control whether you move toward your goals, or stay still. These decisions seem small. But they're everything. They define your direction. And over the course of 6 months, they determine your identity. So from this moment forward, no more casual choices. No more blind habits. No more. It doesn't matter. Every choice matters. Every behavior compounds. Every moment of laziness costs you clarity. Every moment of discipline rewards you with momentum. You want a better life? Then make better decisions. Not once, but daily. Deliberately. Own your morning. Own your mindset. Own your space. Own your health. Own your communication. Own your progress. And when something goes wrong, don't spiral. Don't hide. Don't point fingers. Just ask, what's my role in this? And how do I fix it? This is leadership. Not over others. Over yourself. Most people never lead themselves. They stay reactive. Passive. Waiting for someone or something to come rescue them. But rescue never comes. And they end up living a life that's 40% of what it could have been, because they never took responsibility for writing their own script. Don't let that be you. You've wasted enough time waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect support system, the perfect external environment. The perfect moment isn't coming. What's coming is the result of the choices you make today. So what will it be? Will you scroll again? Will you delay again? Will you eat out of boredom again? Will you justify weakness again? Or will you take ownership? Will you wake up with direction? Will you execute what you said you would? Will you treat your time like it's the most valuable asset you have? Will you finally act like someone whose future depends on what they do today? Because it does. That's the weight of your choices. But it's also the power of them. You don't need permission. You don't need more time. You need to start choosing like a leader. Acting like a builder. Thinking like someone who's out of excuses and full of purpose. Own every choice. And watch every part of your life begin to shift. This is it. The last chapter. The final stretch. The point where most people slow down, where they think they've done enough, proven enough, earned enough. But not you. You didn't come this far just to coast. You came to finish. To transform. To bury the old version of yourself and rebuild, stone by stone, the kind of life that demands your full potential. So let's be clear about something. You're not done. You're just getting started. The next 6 months aren't a maybe. They're a mission. A focused, relentless, non-negotiable mission to lock in and not look back. No side quests. No distractions. No breaks to question if it's worth it. It is. And you know that now. You've seen the difference between discipline and delay. You've felt the gap between comfort and control. And the truth is, this version of you? The one that's rising from the friction? This is the version that can't afford to play small anymore. You have to lock in. Not for a week. Not until it gets uncomfortable. But every single day until this new identity becomes who you are without effort. What does that look like? It looks like ruthless consistency. Showing up without checking the temperature. You don't ask yourself how you feel, you already know how you move. You don't wait to be in the mood, you are the mood. Focused. Direct. Sharpened by pressure. Fed by progress. It looks like obsession, not the toxic kind, but the kind that says, my future is too valuable to waste on distractions. You've got time for one thing, execution. The plan has already been written. Now you follow it with militant precision. It looks like elimination. Cutting everything and everyone that doesn't align with your mission. That might mean silence. That might mean solitude. That might mean having hard conversations. But you do it. Without guilt. Because now you know what's at stake. It looks like saying no, to parties, to gossip, to comfort, to half-hearted effort, to just this once. 2. I deserve a break. To every voice that sounds good but weakens your edge. You say no to anything that threatens your momentum. Because you've worked too hard to let it slip now. It looks like discipline, not just when it's hard, but especially when it's boring. Because the real transformation isn't found in grand gestures. It's in the 5 a.m. wake-ups when no one's watching. In the meals you prep instead of ordering out. In the books you read instead of endless scrolling. In the workouts you finish when your legs burn. In the boundaries you hold when you're tempted to compromise. This isn't about hype anymore. This is your new operating system. You're locked in now. That means your vision is non-negotiable. Your mission is permanent. Your habits are coded into your identity. You don't rise and fall based on external motivation, you run on self-respect. You do the work because it's who you are now. Anything less isn't even an option. But let's be real, it will get hard. You will be tempted. There will be days when everything in you wants to quit. To sleep in. To skip the routine. To scroll instead of show up. And in those moments, you don't negotiate. You remind yourself who you are. You say, I've already buried that version of me who gave in. I don't entertain thoughts that don't serve me. I've got momentum. I protect it with my life. Because you're not starting over again. Not this time. You've done that enough. That cycle is over. The quitting, the starting, the waiting for perfect conditions, it's dead. You're not looking back. Why? Because the old version of you had enough time. Enough chances. Enough comfort. It built nothing but regret. But this version? The one that keeps showing up? It's different. It's focused. Dangerous. Sharp. And once this version locks in, the world starts moving differently. People feel your energy shift. You carry yourself like someone with clarity. Like someone who doesn't flinch. Like someone who's building something sacred. And the results? They come. Slowly at first. Then all at once. The body starts changing. The income starts increasing. The stress starts dropping. The relationships evolve. Your thoughts get cleaner. Your spirit gets lighter. And most importantly, your respect for yourself skyrockets. Because now you're not guessing who you are. You've built proof. You're not living based on what you hope happens, you're living based on the momentum you created with your own hands. And here's the most beautiful part of all this. You'll realize that this wasn't about just 6 months. It was about learning how to become someone who doesn't quit. Someone who finishes what they start. Someone who doesn't need attention, just impact. Someone who lives with intention. You'll look back and barely recognize the version of you that used to need reminders, that used to beg for motivation, that used to chase dopamine and delay discipline. That person will feel like a stranger. And you'll realize something powerful. You never needed more time, more motivation, or more inspiration. You just needed to lock in. And never look back. So this is your final decision. Not, will I do this? But, who am I now? And if the answer is, I'm locked in. For real. For life. Then congratulations. Your new life just began. 6 months from now, people will ask you how you did it. Don't say anything. Let your discipline speak for you. Let your results echo louder than your words. Let your energy walk into rooms and shift the entire atmosphere. Because that's who you've become. And you're never going back.